I now invite Professor Janki to kindly give the token of appreciation to Surendra Mohan Garu. It is my honor to now invite Professor R. Radhakrishna to address the gathering with social sector development issues and challenges.
Sri Surendra Mohanji, Professor Mahendra Dev, Professor Banaji Rao, Mrs. Soma D. Silve, Dr. Suman Sahai, Dr. Anand, Professor Sai Kumar, Dr. Lakshmi Kumari. I am delighted to be with you today. I am obliged to Professor R.K. Misra and Dr. Anand for giving me this opportunity. I am particularly happy that my former colleague, Professor Siva Subramaniam of MITS, is with us. I am also happy that I got a bonus of a book, of an important book, and I may get many more books as bonus. So I am very happy to be to receive those books. Now my address will deal with social sector development and human well-being. The address explores the link and also provides a national and international perspective. I have passed on the written text to the organizers for circulation. What I am presenting is only a abridged version of my address. Indicators of well-being are extremely extensively used by national and international agencies to guide policy making and also to compare the performance across countries and sub-regions over a period of time. Regular large-scale collection of data on well-being enables to measure the impact of policies on well-being as well as improvement in macroeconomic policy making. Among the indicators, real per capita income and real per capita expenditure are the most popular measures. There is a growing realization that the relationship between GDP and well-being is complex and a host of factors intervene between them. It is argued that while in less developed countries, an increase in per capita GDP improves well-being until basic needs are met. It may not improve well-being in the developed countries since affluence is associated with its own set of problems. The measurement of poverty has largely dealt with economic deprivation in income and expenditure space. Poverty estimates have been extensively put to use in assessing macro policies for inclusive growth as well as designing public intervention programs targeted at the poor to supplement a generic growth strategy. These initiatives have inspired a large number of methodological studies on the measurement and identification of the poor. Indian experts, even including Professor Mahendra Dev, have contributed extensively on the measurement aspects. And there are a number of committees, expert groups appointed by the Planning Commission, which periodically provided poverty estimates. However, there is now growing recognition that poverty is a matter of not simply inadequate income, but also of low literacy, lack of basic needs, short life expectation, uncertainty, not enjoying political freedom, and so on. Considering that GDP and income poverty are commodity-centric, human development and multidimensional poverty measures have been popularized by the UNDP as people-centric measures. UNDP is making periodic inter-country comparisons in human development, and some national official agencies are engaged in sub-regional comparisons. These developments have enriched our understanding of national well-being. There is a welcoming recent development to broaden the framework to include subjective well-being. Psychologists have found that wealthy individuals motivated exclusively by higher incomes are more vulnerable to psychological illness than individuals who do not crave for higher incomes. Hope the 1 crore grant given to IPA will not create problems. While higher income may raise happiness to individuals below a threshold level of income, beyond the threshold quest for higher income may beyond the threshold quest for higher income may reduce one's happiness. Another reason is for unhappiness is that gains have not been evenly shared. Some countries like Bhutan, UK, OECD countries are attempting to develop happiness index based on responses given to subjective questions put to individuals on various dimensions of well-being. There are experts like Richard Layard of London School of Economics, Jeffrey Sachs, well-known development economist, and John Halwell of Canadian-based economists have done extensive work on measurement of happiness. Gross Happiness Index was initiated by Bhutan King, and the Western world has taken it forward. The initial work was done by Bhutan King at the initiation of Bhutan King. Gross Happiness Index, a term pioneered by the Center for Bhutan Studies, is based on a large number of indicators in the domain of psychological well-being, health, time use, education, cultural diversity, and resilience, good governance, community vitality, ecological diversity, and living standards. GNHI, which is popularly known as HI, it is replacing Human Development Index to a large extent. GNHI guides all economic and development plans of Bhutan. The official national statistics of UK, a counterpart of National Statistical Commission of India, has recently conducted a survey and released the data on satisfaction, happiness, anxiety, and the feeling that life is worthwhile. These results show substantial variations across social groups. In fact, in one of the OECD conferences which I chaired, the Prime Minister of UK, Mr. David Cameron, presented a paper on the happiness index. The UK indicators also show that being unemployed makes a substantial difference to overall well-being. Unhappiness, unemployment. In India, unemployment is very high among the educated youth. The unemployed persons report less daily happiness, more daily anxiety, and less strong feelings that life is worthwhile. World happiness reports provide cross-country comparisons of subjective well-being. Countries are ranked on the basis of happiness. Table 1 presents the ranking of selected countries based on happiness index. This index is available to a large number of countries now. There is another index developed recently. Social Progress Index is another index for international comparability of well-being, inspired by Joseph Stiglitz Commission on Measurement of Economic Performance and Social Progress. It is based on 3 distinct dimensions of a society: basic human needs, covering adequate nutrition and medical care, water and sanitation, shelter, personal safety. Foundations of well-being. Second component is foundation of well-being, which includes basic education, access to information and communications, and so on. Third component dimension of well-being developed by the social progress index is opportunity, personal rights, personal freedom and choice, access to higher education and environmental tolerance and inclusion. Table 1 also presents the social progress index for selected countries along with happiness index for selected countries. The top 5 countries on happiness index as well as are Denmark, Norway, Switzerland, New York and Sweden. These are they are better than some of the neoliberal economies. They are performing much better. Their ranking on happiness index is better than the ranking on per capita GSDP. See, if you take per capita GSDP, these countries are not on the high, but yet on the happiness and social progress, they perform much better. These countries have high levels of public expenditure on social sectors. Let me reiterate. These countries have high levels of public expenditure on social sectors. Regrettably, today's paper shows India cut the expenditure on social sector. World Happiness Report shows that quite a few countries have had a decline in happiness between 2005-7 and 2010-11. A period more or less coincides with economic crisis. Let me discuss India. Let me come to India. Among developing countries, India fared badly compared to Indonesia, Malaysia, China and Bangladesh, both on happiness and social development progress. This I am listing only few countries. There are many countries behind. India is below that. Sri Lanka, though ranked higher than Bangladesh and India in per capita GDP and social progress, it ranked lower on happiness index. I don't know. I don't want to elaborate the reasons underlying it. Why India has performed badly on well-being indices? I will briefly discuss some of the major determinants of well-being. Education and health. These are considered as basic human needs and the foundations of well-being in the social progress index. Most of the health and education indicators in India were worse than in China and Sri Lanka. For instance, according to 2010 UNDP report, infant mortality rate in India was 3 times more than that of China, infant mortality rate, and 4 times more than that of Sri Lanka. Maternal mortality rate was about 10 times more than that of China and Sri Lanka. Maternal mortality rate. Life expectation at 64 years was about 10 years less than that in China and Sri Lanka. If you migrate to Sri Lanka, you will get a bonus of 10 years life. Mean years of schooling of adults at 4.4 years was merely half of that in China and Sri Lanka, mean years of education. Now you say demographic dividend. When population education is low, malnutrition is high, it doesn't lead us very far. What is worse, India fared badly on health and education indicators when compared to some of the less developed countries. For instance, Bangladesh, with less than half of the per capita income of India, had better outcomes than that of India. It had life expectation at birth higher, mean years of schooling better, and lower gender inequality. Lower gender inequality also in Bangladesh. Table 2 shows that India paid inadequate attention to research and development among BRICS countries, the countries which we are competing. In 2007-8, the number of researchers engaged in R&D per million population in China was nearly 8 times more than that in India. R&D expenditure as a percentage of GDP in China was twice to that of India. India's share in the world scientific output was 3%, while that of China was 10%. India in the 1960s, the share of output in the international output, scientific output, was 10%. Now declined to 3%. 3%. None of the universities, Indian university, figure in the top 50 world universities. Whatever indicator you take. Professor C.N.R. Rao made a presentation to the Prime Minister requesting him, please do something for the higher education. A delegation met him, C.N.R. Rao and others. And Prime Minister responded, the then Prime Minister responded positively and created central universities. Now the central universities, it doesn't have faculty. It is functioning without faculties, with hired teachers. And I was on the court. I am on the court of Tamil Nadu Central University. And first the controversy came the location, where to be located. Finally, it located in Karunanidhi's native place. And most of the faculty were drawn from colleges. I am sad to say that the Central University, newly established Central University faculty doesn't come up to the level of expectation. Even I am also on some of the selections of the Vice Chancellors of Central Universities. The stuff is, there is no leaders, education leaders. And again, most of the, even IIMs, IITs are suffering from lack of faculty. There is a shortage of faculty. Mere starting a university doesn't promote higher education. Let me say, needless to say, the neglect of education and research will act as a drag on India's development. I here really thank Mr. Surendra has given 1 crore. I hope it contributes to higher education, but you must get good faculty. That's the precondition. I am sure IP has that capacity. Now let me make a comparative assessment of well-being across Indian states. Table 3 ranks states on deprivation index, income poverty and per capita STP. It is evident that in all the 3 indicators showed more or less similar ranking of states. However, there are some outliers. It is observed that Gujarat, Haryana, Maharashtra, though ranked high on per capita GSDP, they had middle position in the ranking on incidence of poverty and deprivations. We are citing Gujarat as a model. Gujarat as a model, it doesn't figure in when you consider well-being, totality. But if you consider GSDP, it is on a higher rank. Jammu and Kashmir, with low ranking on per capita GSDP, had low incidence of poverty and placed middle in the ranking of deprivation. Maybe because it is a special category state. Though GSDP is low, then central assistance is more to Jammu and Kashmir. Goa, Kerala, Delhi, Sikkim and Himachal Pradesh, in that order, fared better in terms of low incidence of deprivation